White opens casually with, "Hey," a harmless pawn push. Totally normal, no sign of the disaster ahead. White continues, "Can I call you?" And suddenly White throws a knight straight into Black's face. Bold, direct, maybe too direct. Black responds with, "You can." A masterpiece. Black technically allows the call, while promising absolutely nothing. This is the conversational equivalent of castling while staring into the camera like you're on The Office. White immediately launches the attack with missed audio call, and that's a catastrophic blunder. White didn't check if Black was voluntarily participating in this battle. The attack fails before the pieces even make contact. White, confused and wounded, sends, "You don't pick up?" White is officially tilted. The king is exposed. Morale is collapsing. White, 14.6. Black finishes the game with, "I didn't say I'd pick up." Check, mate, game. Over. This isn't just a move. This is a philosophical KO, the kind that gets framed and hung in a museum. Black wins by technicality. Checkmate, the rarest victory condition. White opens politely with, "Hey, do you have any available spots September 12th? A clean, normal opening. White develops a piece, controls the center, looks like a functional human being. Black answers with, "Hello, no I don't." A reasonable defensive move. No threats, no sass. Just information. Solid, respectable, adult behavior. And then White. "Bitch, you." White just picked up their queen and yeeted it into the sun. A catastrophic blunder. The kind of move that gets clipped on YouTube titled, "Top 5 Chess Players Who Forgot How to Human." Black responds with the emotional equivalent of sipping tea. LOLOK. This is not a move. This is monk-level enlightenment. Black refuses to engage. Black becomes the board itself. White, now possessed by turbulence, plays "Ain't Shut Funny Weekends Ho." White is fully off the rails. This is no longer chess. This is a pigeon kicking over the pieces and screaming. Then White suddenly goes, "I'm so sorry, I thought you said he'll know I don't." White attempts the reverse Uno apology gambit, trying to crawl back into a game they set on fire. The whiplash is legendary. Black gives the universal symbol of "I am no longer mentally present," a move so cold it creates permafrost on the board. Black finishes with, "LOLOK, have a nice day." This isn't checkmate. This is retirement. Black walks away, leaves the building, and lets White argue with the ghosts of their own choices. Result, 0-1 in Black's favor. In the next match, Black opens with the legendary, "Would you still employ me if I was a worm?" This is not an opening. This is a philosophical nuke. Black sacrifices all professional dignity on move 1. The board catches fire instantly. White, attempting to stay professional, auto-responds with, "I'm currently away. Please send emergency if it's urgent." A perfect defensive structure. White builds a fortress and prays the enemy isn't unhinged enough to continue. Black immediately tests the structural integrity of the universe with emergency, a brilliantly evil move. Black weaponizes the auto-reply system for maximum psychological damage. This is the employee gambit declined. White's rook just fell off the table. White returns at 5:21 a.m. with, "Are you f***ing kidding me?" This is not a move. This is a man staring at the ceiling, wondering where his life went wrong. Black has achieved checkmate by worm inquiry, one of the rarest forms of forced mate. White opens with, "Are you a freak?" Immediate aggression. White skips development and goes straight for a kingside assault. A wild, unsound opening that only works in Tinder Blitz. Black calmly replies with, "Of course," a controlled, flexible response. Black doesn't commit to anything, just mirrors the energy. This is how you parry chaos. White continues the attack with, "Let's have a threesome." White is now playing bullet chess blindfolded with oven mitts. We're 4 moves in, and White is already sacrificing the entire morality board. Black counters with, "Who's the third?" A brilliant defensive move. Black demands logistics. No one survives logistics. White answers, "Your friend." White attempts the friend sacrifice gambit, assuming black has at least one. Then white escalates without provocation. F it. Bring two friends. White has now committed to the full delusion attack. It's not even a three-way anymore. White is planning a LAN party. Black delivers the kill shot. Bold move, assuming I have two friends. This is checkmate. Not because it defeats White's plan, but because it defeats White's entire worldview. White's attack collapses instantly upon realizing he's playing against someone who's mastered self-deprecating counterplay. Final result, 0-1. Black wins by reality check. White got mistaken a lot. It was overextended, overestimated, overcommitted. This game begins with one player trying to escape and the other playing chess like he's trying to romance the pieces. Black opens with, "Hi," a quiet pawn push, harmless. Then black immediately plays, "Hello," doubling pawns early, not optimal. Then, Pial's reply. Black is now pushing all pawns forward with reckless abandon. And then, no build-up, no transition. I love you very much. A tactical blunder and a marriage proposal in one move. Black is performing grandmaster-level speedrunning of desperation. White responds with the most reality-shattering sentence possible. Bro, I'm a boy. This is my fake account. This is a brilliant defensive move, revealing the truth and threatening to end the game instantly. Most players resign here, but Black is not most players. Black counters with the fearless historic line, "It doesn't matter, just talk like a girl." This is not just a move. This is a philosophical stance. Black has achieved enlightenment, ascending beyond gender, identity, and Facebook's terms of service. This is checkmate by delusion. White cannot continue. White cannot defend. White cannot even comprehend the sheer commitment of Black's move. White begins with, "Can I tell you something if you don't think it's weird?" A very suspicious opening. Instant red flags. Black should castle immediately. Black replies, "I guess." This is the moment Black willingly walks into the dungeon. White reveals their entire soul in one move. I like having my balls kicked. This is a nuclear blunder disguised as a confession. White, worried the move didn't land, follows up with, "Did you see my message?" White is doubling down, reinforcing the attack like a man who only studied one tactic, and it was this. Black, performing spiritual judo, responds with, "No, I didn't." A brilliant evasive maneuver. Black is pretending the message never existed. Black is trying to gaslight the entire match into normalcy. White, unfazed, determined, unstoppable. I like having my balls kicked. Same move, same energy, same sentence. White is now speedrunning their own humiliation. Black, I didn't get your message. The engine is screaming blinds 900 for Black. Black refuses to acknowledge reality. White, with the final tragic repetition, I like being kicked in the balls. White plays their one move a third time. This is not chess anymore. This is a man stuck on a dialogue tree, glitching in real life. White checkmates himself by repetition. Black wins by, I will pretend this never happened, defense. White only had one move, Black had denial, and denial wins every time. White is trying to confess feelings. Black is trying to run a Twitch stream inside a private conversation. These goals are not compatible. White opens beautifully with, I like you. This is a perfect romantic opening, a clean development move. The board is peaceful. There is hope. There is potential. Black responds with, Chat, is that Riz? Black has immediately thrown the board across the room. This is a colossal blunder, the kind that makes commentators take off their headsets and walk away. White, devastated. You just ruined it. White's king collapses emotionally. White is already down 12 points of material. White continues. We were having a moment. White is genuinely heartbroken. Black is talking to imaginary viewers like they're on Twitch. Black, instead of apologizing, goes full delusion mode. Chat, am I cooked? This is a spectacular self-mate. Black believes they're in a live stream chat, not a one-on-one conversation. The evaluation bar has snapped in half. White finally loses their mind. Who are you talking to, RRN? White has realized that Black is trying to speed run a relationship into an esports event. White is panicking. White does not understand the lore. Black finishes the game with, "Chat clip that." This is checkmate by Roleplay Delusion. Black has fully committed to the imaginary live stream. White cannot continue because there is no counterplay against hallucinated spectators. Final result, 0-1. Black loses the relationship but wins the Twitch Fantasy Championship. White tried to give love. Black tried to go viral. One of them succeeded. This entire match is two people politely strangling each other with courtesy. White opens with, "Neither, that's why I asked you." White kicks things off by handing the entire board to Black, a soft, gentle pawn push of uncertainty. Black counters with, "It's up to you." Already, Black refuses responsibility, the first deflection gambit of the game. White returns serve, "I'm fine with whatever you decide." White is mirroring Black's cowardice perfectly. Neither player actually wants to choose. Tension rises. Black parries with, "I'll do whatever you want." Both kings are lying on the ground, refusing to rule. White escalates the politeness war. "You can choose honestly." This is psychological warfare disguised as courtesy. Black counters harder with, "No, please, the honor's all yours." Black is now attacking with pure etiquette, aggression. This is the Canadian Gambit. White makes a bold proclamation. "I've decided that you should decide." This is the moment White tries a reversal tactic, attempting to force Black to commit. Black, instead of choosing, doubles down with nuclear politeness. "Well, if you're really asking me, I think you have the final say." Black refuses to step into the throne. Black is a master of deflection. White snaps. The mask slips. The courtesy collapses. White unleashes. "Shut the..." This is the equivalent of flipping the board, throwing the pieces, and setting the rulebook on fire. A beautiful resignation explosion. Final result, draw by mutual passive-aggressive stalemate. Then White rage quits. Neither side wanted to choose. Neither side wanted responsibility. Both sides wanted the other one to be an adult. White opens with, "Hey!" White immediately pushes a pawn covered in cheese bait. This is an aggressive opening, the rodent lure attack. Black responds, "Hi!" calling me a rat. Black instantly sees the trap, a sharp defensive move, calling out the gambit before stepping into it. White attempts damage control. "OMG, babe, I would never." This is classic gaslight defense, denying the clearly rat-themed opening. White sacrifices integrity to keep the position alive. White then plays the most disrespectful follow-up imaginable, the literal cheese under box trap emoji. White doubles down on the rodent insinuation with a brilliant but toxic move. The board gasps, and then White finishes with, "Doesn't that cheese look yummy?" This is not a move. This is a checkmate threat. White places a fully armed rat trap in the middle of the board and asks the opponent if they're hungry. Black is left speechless. Final result, White wins by cheesemate. This is one of the most psychotically derailed DM ever recorded. White opens with an absolute war crime. "Ints just f***ing died." A horrifying opening that can be called blunder. White sacrifices their moral alignment on move 1. The chat instantly enters the FBI defense zone. Black calmly responds, "Who's ints?" A neutral, almost bored move. Black is treating a potential homicide like a vocabulary quiz. White escalates. "The guy we had in our basement?" This is a catastrophic blunder, confessing to 17 felonies in one message. Anyone would resign. Black responds with, "Okay, just okay." Black is playing Zen chess. Nothing disturbs them. Not murder, not kidnapping, not death. Then Black switches topics with zero transition. "Chase-a-cack." This is a brilliant move, ignoring crime and pivoting to dessert. A psychological masterstroke. White is disarmed. Black even sends a picture of a cheesecake that looks like it lost a fistfight. Finally, White mirrors the madness. Chase-a-cack. White joins the ritual. The match has descended into culinary insanity. White opens with full emotional artillery. Starts crying. I'm crying. You made me cry. This is the waterworks attack. White floods the board with emotional pawns, hoping Black blunders into sympathy. Black, however, is Black. Black responds with, baby, at first glance, a gentle knight. Hop, but no. This is a disguised mocking move, setting up a tactical insult fork. White panics. Now is not the time for pet names. White misreads the position completely. I'd call that mistake. They think Black is playing the romantic defense, but Black is actually loading the disrespect cannon. White has now placed themselves into interpretation zugzwang. They must move, but all moves are wrong. Black reveals the trap. No, I'm calling you a baby, I'm insulting you. This is check, not a soft check. A spite check with full board domination. White's emotional attack collapses instantly. Black's clarification is so brutally efficient it counts as a tactical ego capture. White opens with a financial nuke. Sending you $5K, you give $1K to your little boyfriend, then with the rest, you make yourself beautiful, okay? This is the Grandmaster Money Gambit. White throws $5,000 on the board like it's a pawn. The phrase, your little boyfriend, is a psychological attack, the belittlement pin, attempting to immobilize Jimmy without him even being present. The board trembles. Black suddenly appears from the shadows. Hi, this is Jimmy, her boyfriend. She didn't give me any money. This is the interception defense, Jimmy jumping onto the board like a rogue knight who wasn't supposed to be in the game. He immediately exposes a blunder, the missing $1,000 pawn, and then delivers the most defeated line in chess communication history. Please talk to her. This is the hopeless appeal move. Black is begging White for help. Not against White, but against Black's own teammate. A paradoxical maneuver seen only in tragicomic endgames. White sees the message and does nothing. This is checkmate by silence. White refuses to move. Black is left alone on the board, crying into the void, down $1,000 and possibly a girlfriend. Result, White wins by, bro, I'm not getting involved in that. Checkmate, Jimmy tried. He did, but White has $5K and absolutely zero interest in helping. White opens with a soft emotional poke. I can't sleep. A timid E4, hoping Black will comfort. White plays the sleepless gambit, offering vulnerability as bait. Black plays the coldest move ever recorded. Who cares? This is the Arctic defense, a move so heartless it drops the temperature of the entire board by 30 degrees. A psychological attack. White is rattled. White retreats with emotional damage. Don't you care about me now? White attempts the guilt trip fork, trying to pressure Black's king and conscience simultaneously. Black doubles down on the frostbite. I always don't care. This is not just a move. This is Frost Nova, a passive-aggressive castle behind a wall of emotional indifference. White is one turn away from resigning. White suddenly panics. Someone knocking at my door died TF. White performs the paranoid knight sacrifice, throwing the entire board into chaos. Black's mask cracks. Checkmate in one. Open up, stupid, it's cold out of here. Black reveals the truth. All that I don't care was a tsundere trap opening. Black literally shows up at White's house like, I don't care about you, but also open the door before I freeze to death. This is the legendary tsundere doorstep mate, where the opponent pretends to have zero feelings while proving in real life they care the most. Result, Black wins by pretending not to care while physically at your door. A masterpiece of emotional deception and sudden intimacy. White opens with a classic emotional probe. You love me, right? A gentle E4, inviting reassurance. White sets up the affection gambit. Low risk, high emotional reward. Black responds solidly. Yay. Simple, stable, calm. A quiet e5, signaling trust and emotional availability. Black thinks the game is normal. Oh, how wrong they are. What if I did something bad? I mean, like really bad? White pushes the suspicion pawns forward. This is the uh-oh variation of the guilt trip opening. Black cautiously asks, "What did you do?" Black plays nf6, developing while peeking over the board with immediate dread. White detonates the psychological nuke. "Are you sure you'd still love me, though?" This isn't a move. This is a thermonuclear attack. White threatens every square at once: past, present, future, emotional stability, and possibly the law. Black's king begins sweating. Black completely loses composure. "What did you do?" Black is now slamming pieces off the table in panic. This is the Blitz Panic stack, where a player spams messages hoping the universe answers before their partner does. At this point, Black isn't playing chess anymore. They're rolling death-saving throws. Result: White wins by implying a felony. Mate White's strategy is flawless. Ask for love. Hint at vague crimes. Let the opponent mentally spiral. Deliver no explanation. A masterpiece of emotional manipulation. Black will not recover until details are revealed, which they won't be.